So Betsy thought that some of the history of awakeness experiencing itself through these two units might be interesting or informative, or neither or both. I don't know, but she thought there might be one or the other, or maybe both. So I don't know how far back I could go. I could certainly go back to the 1990s. Late 80s, early 90s. But the 90s would, that as the clarity began to clear a little, there was a seeking arising which had been there all my life. As a drinker, I was seeking. As a drunk, I was always seeking. As a womanizer, I was always seeking. As there was just always seeking here. Betsy and I both found it and or we satisfied the seeking on some level with OCD, with the obsessive compulsive disorder. I had things that I would count. I can remember as a little boy walking to school and counting, and I had to get to 5 or 10 or some multiple of 5 or 10, never get to say 67. That was just, that was an uncomfortable number. And I remember reporting it. I reported it and I may have an incomplete recollection, but my only recollection is that they blew it off when I was really telling them a profound thing. I was telling them, here are my learning disability. Here's my learning disability. This is why I act up all the time. Because I need something to do and I can't do what y'all are doing. But this was pre-consensus that every human being is somewhere on the spectrum. And I don't know that that's true. I don't know enough one way or the other. But we grew up separately in our separate little worlds, both very much a loner. Both very much the outsider. I had friends and everything as a child. And that was fine, but the minute I started going to school, that screwed everything up. Suddenly there was a more flexible crowd available for me to share my antics with, whatever. Betsy became a wallflower and I became a show-off. But it was the same thing. And there was a lack of self-worth. There was not even a thought of self, of there being a self, or there being patterns or anything else. I was the human and I was a mess. And the world was the fucking world and it was a mess. Betsy's the most intelligent woman that I have ever met, and I have been married to 3 geniuses, certified geniuses. There's 2 things I got to have in a wife, apparently, because this is what's happened 3 times, is they got to be a genius and they've got to be an art history major in college, because I went out and did that 3 times in a row, and I did well all 3 times. They did not do so well, but I did. And I really became I was a lovely little boy is what I've been told. I was a very sweet little boy. I was just in the wrong family. Because in my family, I was not enough. And I adopted that from them. And I didn't try, really, because there wasn't enough and it could never be enough. That was clear. My family never said that outright. They just acted on that principle. And then as a young teen, I began to vacillate between being the worst and the best at everything. I'm the best. I'm the best. But I couldn't stay in the best. And I certainly couldn't. And I couldn't get comfortable in best. But I found I could get comfortable in not enough. That I could hide in not enough, because nobody would have any expectations of me because I wasn't enough. So that was what won out. And I moved through junior high school as not enough. I was not enough in grammar school, except for sometimes but really I was never enough in grammar school as I think about it. My family lived in the right neighborhood, but we didn't have any money, and all my friends had doctors and lawyers as dads and all that. They were well heeled, and we had a house in the right neighborhood, which got us in the right school district, but we didn't have any money to back that up, which my parents were fine with that, but I was not, because my not enough got really thrown in my face when I couldn't get this and I couldn't get that when others were. I couldn't have the new anything I got from stuff from my mother. Yeah, I mean, or from my brothers and sisters. I got hand-me-downs, which was just a terrible blow. It sounds so stupid now, but it was a terrible blow. And I became less and less and less and less. And really, finally, I got to where the only people who would be my friends were the bad guys, and I became a bad guy. and I was somebody in the bad guys. And I moved through high school as a my brothers had gone and they had been, football players and all of that. And in came this dark little shadow guy, little shadow character. That was me. No, could not have been more unlike my brothers. Could not have been more unlike my classmates. And when I couldn't stand my own company and I couldn't stand anybody else's company either, I started to run away. And when I would run away, I would find my identity. Because my identity was whatever you wanted, so that I could get whatever I needed out of you. But I would blend right in. I had no beliefs whatsoever. Just willing to believe yours is theirs. There was nobody there in the most real sense. And then I was saved by hippies. So I moved from bad character. One of my friends who was a marginally bad character became a good character, and after his sister married a San Francisco musician back in the 60s, and so we were exposed to all this. And it was glorious because I actually fit in. Because they didn't know, their ass from a hole in the ground either. But somehow, because my running away, instead of being, God, how weird is he, it really became a cool thing. Yeah, he runs away and lives on the street for months at a time. Wow. He's the real McCoy. He's not just a talky hippie. And my life, of course, went down the tubes. I mean, I have a good elementary education, but I just blurred. Junior high school was a blur, what they call middle school now. It was just sort of a blur. And I was just that kind of bad guy. I didn't have any real identity. And then when I went to high school, I didn't go to high school long, but I went for a while, and that was a blur. And then I realized I just didn't want to go to school, and my parents couldn't make me, and they threatened to send me to military school. I said, fine, waste your money, but I get there, I'm heading out the back gate the first night. And they realized that they couldn't manage me, but they couldn't send me away because it would just cost them money and grief. And when I ran away, I connected really strong with the hippies on the street and all of that. And I became cool. For the first time in my life, I became cool. It was great. But all of my friends now and the people that I was meeting, they were all in college and I wasn't. So I felt the outsider there because I was the outsider there, only they let me into the inner sanctum because I was cool. And after a year or so of floundering around, a couple of years of floundering around, whatever it was, I went to college and I stayed a week. And I ran away. And I came back and I ran away. Over and over. I used to tell a story in AA that, anybody really can, these days, can become homeless. It's not that big a shame. It can happen to anybody. It'd be just bad luck, an illness, whatever. You can end up homeless. And if you have really, really bad luck, you can end up homeless twice. But I was homeless 9 times. And that's not bad luck, that's skill. I was very, very good at giving my shit up and hitting the road. And then somewhere in my teens, I got very attracted to the occult because it was weird. And you didn't have to go to college for it. And it was cool. So long as you were 15 or 16, whatever it was. And for a few people after that, but not so many. But that occult pull was this pull, showing up as an occult pull. It was a pull where I knew there was more than here than meets the eye. And I began to seek. When I was running away, I was seeking. When I was drinking, I was seeking. With women, I was seeking. As I said, I was a gambler that was seeking. I was seeking a way out of ordinary life. I wanted to find other. And eventually, not the occult really itself, but people that were interested in that began to do drugs, and I began to do them with them. I started taking acid at 16, and I'll never forget. It was like walking out of one world and into another. And with acid, I could see that many of the things that I had been thinking about for years, not clearly, but nonetheless been thinking about. And I could see that I was right, because here was this whole other weird world that I had been looking for all this time. And I fell in love with it. And the first time that I ever took acid was basically not the first time that I ever broke out of relativity and into this. But of course I didn't understand it. But I did know one thing. I knew I was home. One look and I knew I was home. But I was still a dozen years from meeting Betsy. No. It was more than that. It was like 15 years away. Is that right? Oh, no, it was 30 years. From 12 to, from my early teens to my early 30s. That was a terrible, terrible experience, except for when I could get acid, and then it was perfect. And if there's curiosity, we can go through the rest of it sometime. But I don't know. It's dependent upon you. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening to whatever has come out of this thing's mouth. It wasn't the wrong thing, I know that. And I'm glad to have been here with you as if I could be anywhere else. I love you all. Bye for now.